Ric Nattress, a veteran of 11 NHL seasons, 536 games, and a Stanley Cup champion with these Calgary Flames. Rick, I appreciate you spending the time with us today. I know you're following this situation very closely, and have you sensed how excited Calgary is now? That was a real cue that this is a Stanley Cup run. Flames are in it to win it.
Well, I mean, everybody seems to say that all the time when they make a big deal, but I think this is a good one. They needed some more depth, Calgary and Toffoli's. You see him, it's funny, the cost of these players, Rod. You know what I mean? Like, you look at Toffoli and he's only, broken the 30-goal plateau once in his career. Back in 13-14, I believe it was. So, I mean, this is a guy that's consistent, plays a 200-foot game, but what you're giving up for guys. So just imagine if they would have waited, 6 weeks or so or whatever it is to the trade deadline, and what they would have had to pay for that. So I think it's an early move, a good move. We're seeing that more in today's game, that they're trying to get the bigger acquisitions, I guess, before the trade deadline, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before that, to see if they can gel. Because we've seen a lot of these late season additions not really gel the first or the time remaining they have when they get to their new teams.
You know what, Rick? Isn't it interesting you say that? Because it's happening in junior, too. They're making trades. Yeah. The best teams are making trades a couple months ahead of the deadline rather than that flurry on the last day. What do you think that says about Brad Treliving and his approach with the Flames this year?
Well, and I like Brad because, when I had my show with the fan in Toronto there, and he used to come on when he was the assistant GM at Phoenix. So he was very honest, and you like guys like that, right? I mean, you know that, right, Bud? We're not asking brain surgery questions, but can you at least get us to the point where we're trying to get to? So I think Brad has stated in the past, but he's liked Toffoli for a long time. So, I mean, with Daryl being there as well on the film there, that came out early, but, they know each other. That was a little quicker to get there. But they know each other. So he's got 6 years under Daryl, a Stanley Cup under Daryl. Treliving wants him. Lucic is one of his best buddies. He also has played with 3 or 4 guys when he was in Vancouver, and he's also, Monahan. He was with the World Juniors. So there's that fit already. There's that fit already in the need. So I think it solidifies as their top 3. As we know, in today's game, you can't get through with 4 defensemen. You can't get through with 2 lines. You need at least 3 strong ones, and the 4th one's got to be, can compete and can be heavy and not take penalties. And you need your 5th and 6th defenseman to be, that can eat some minutes. And we're not talking 7 or 8 minutes when it comes to the playoffs. So I think Calgary's done a good job. I've watched them. Of course, I watch them as much as I can. And I've watched them the last little while. And certainly the win against Toronto, I mean, goaltending has been an issue in Calgary. And I think they solved that problem, right? So I like where they're going. And this just solidifies their depth a little bit more.
I'm going to ask you about Montreal in a second and the sell-off there, but just with somebody asked here earlier on the show how I felt Toffoli would fit in, and I said there's some interesting characters here, right? Can you imagine walking into that dressing room now with Lucic and Tkachuk, and there's some characters, and I think there is character, but I didn't think they needed a lot. I've been in Calgary a while. I've saw them blow out the Blues 7-1. They've got a darn good team. Do you think they're done here with Toffoli, or what do you think that they could add or should add?
Well, again, and I'm not familiar with their depth on the back end. I like what they've done with the 2 big boys playing 5 and 6 in the back there in their defense. But I'm not sure what they have for 7 or 8. And we see Giordano. If you watched the Leaf and the Kraken play last night, there was a lot of talk of Giordano already leaving. His first year with Seattle and the captaincy and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you can't get enough defensemen. And we saw that, back when I played, with the Flames, it was always difficult for that guy that fell into that 5, 6, 7, even 8 spot, when you have a lot of talent. But if you don't have those guys, I think, a forward, you can sort of massage that, you can massage that, move some guys around. But I think, with your back end, it's certainly when you can't make any more moves and you have to rely on your depth that you have, it's important to have a lot of depth on the back end. So if I was, Treliving, and depending on what that piece is and how much it costs, because everybody's against the cap, and I would certainly be looking at getting a little bit more depth with the understanding that I don't know what they have right now. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But like I said, I don't think they need a lot. This was a good team before, and it's just exciting to see that they're in. Now, what I'm hearing out of Montreal is they didn't really want to part with Toffoli. They thought a lot of him. Look what he did there in his short time with the Habs. Do you think they're doing the right thing with that move? Obviously, you were drafted by Montreal.
Well, again, it's that scene too. Yeah, well, Chris Nyland's a good friend, and he's there, and we haven't talked recently, but we've talked quite a bit, and it's certainly nothing good to be said coming into this, into the trade here. But I think, they've got 12 picks coming in to next year's draft. 2 of them are first rounders, the one they just got from Calgary, the one they own. They've got a couple guys that, Josh Anderson's got 5 years left on his term at 5.5. And, he's a big body. He's, that, a lot of people compare him to Leclerc when he was with Montreal, not the Leclerc that was in Philadelphia, but the Leclerc in Montreal. So, I mean, they sort of have him, and he'd be a harder move with the term he has. But if you're looking at guys like that, Petrie at 34, he's got 5 years left too. So they've got a lot of room there. But I think the Ben Sherratt one is the big one there. And we talked about defensemen. And is that possible to get, under the cap with his money? In Calgary, I mean, Florida, it's just amazing how these guys you got mathematicians working in the NHL now, how they can make this stuff work. But I think Montreal's got another first rounder and a couple more picks if they keep doing what they're doing. And that could see them have like 15 picks this coming year and 3 of them be a first rounder. So, who knows, how quick it is, right?
Yeah, I know. A long rebuild is what they're looking at there. And I mean, who saw the bottom falling out like this? Is it as simple as saying Carey Price hasn't played a game and Shea Weber retired?
No.
Like that's the reason?
I think, with leadership and Weber, and they could say all that stuff, and it's a huge miss. Price, Weber. I mean, you can, you could do whatever you want. Daniel going to LA for, a checker. What's he got? 2 goals, make him 5.5. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Montreal. And my son-in-law, God love him, because I started my career there and I wouldn't have had 11 years without him. So they were great to me. Jacques Laperriere, Serge Savard when he was in management, all that kind of stuff. It was very difficult, but best thing that ever happened to me. But again, I think, Montreal's problem's been happening for a while. And I think it was a gunslinger. And Bergeron, myself, Mark, I mean, nice guy and everything like that. But I thought he was a little bit of a gunslinger, as we've seen other guys, do it. That are put everything up, because I think this is the move, and I think some of them look good. The Subban trade, everybody got mad, but Weber, certainly the last year or 2 of his career, he started coming around because he had some injury problems when he first got there. So, but I think it's a long time coming. I use an example, Rod, that for years, and I don't want to be a homer, but I'm not. I'm a Hamilton boy and grew up loving the Leafs and got to play for them for a little bit in the Gilmore deal and work in their community. But they used to rush guys into the lineup, as we all know, in the 70s, 80s, whatever, even into the 90s, you could say a little bit. They used to rush guys into the lineup and take advantage of youth that wasn't prepared. Maybe physically they were pretty prepared to play, but mentally they weren't. And we saw what that did to them, especially on the back end for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the years. The Habs always developed. And everybody asked me, what was the difference now with the 2 organizations? I say, well, you got one developing and the other one rushing. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, that was Montreal. No, now it's flipped. Toronto's the one developing. Right. Toronto's the one that's putting a lot of time and effort into the development of their prospects and signings and all that kind of stuff, and even free agents coming over. Montreal has been rushing guys into their lineup for years, and I'd say even decades myself personally in the last 15 to 20 years. So I'm not surprised eventually you run out of stuff, right? Guys aren't ready. The draft, unfortunately, they haven't done a good job, let's be honest, with their first overall picks, and they've had some high ones, 3rd, 5th, somewhere in there. So they've got to do a better job that way. And I think Montreal's got to get back to the point where you've got to develop. You have to stockpile. You have to do that. You look at Tampa. You look at any team that's had success in the National Hockey League and why they've had success and why that success has waned, because the fact is they developed all these prospects. Then they traded away to get the pieces to win a cup. And most teams have had that success. We saw it in LA. We've seen it in Tampa, and now how do you sustain that if you don't have those draft choices again? So I think it's been a long time coming, but they got lucky last year because you can win with the hot goaltender, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be brand new coach, brand new GM. They're starting all over. We're fresh out of time. Rick, I could go on all day. Can we do this again soon?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time.
You bet, bud. Good chatting with you. Ric Nattress, 11-year NHL veteran, joining us talking Flames and Habs. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.